Is the bull run and alt season officially canceled? Well, let's talk about it. Welcome to the channel, everyone. My name is Nick. For those that are new to the channel, hopefully by the end of this video, you do become a subscriber. If we take a look at what has been happening in this market, we've been chopping since we made that low recently. Not much has changed. We did get a bearish weekly close, which I will talk about. But for the most part, sentiment in this market is at all-time lows. I honestly think that it's worse than FTX. I don't know if it's worse than 2020, but it feels like it, right? If we go and look at X, if we go and look at YouTube, if we look at everything happening around crypto, it feels worse than 2020. And I'm not too sure why. I think that a lot of it is because there's new participants in the market. But for the most part, as we really look at sentiment versus price action versus where we are at right now in the cycle, it does kind of take me back to 2020 into 2021, which I will talk about in this video. I strongly encourage everyone to join the free Discord. There's going to be a link at the top of the description below. This is one of the most valuable and informative Discords out there, and it's completely free. There's a free side that has a ton of free crypto gems, free market strategies, guides, market trends, free charts, and there's also going to be new cheat sheets dropped in this Discord. And already, we have a ton of testimonials from members of the Discord that have been absolutely loving it. So what are you waiting for? Go and click the link at the top of the description below and join the free Discord. But outside of that, as we do look at fear and greed, we're down to the fear levels. We are now at the lowest levels on the fear and greed index in terms of CMC since going all the way back to like September of 2023. Pretty crazy. And fear and greed index in terms of Bitcoin down to 28. We are now in fear levels. This is very good. I love to see this resetting in terms of the fear and greed index. Ultimately, what we were looking at was the levels back in October. When we were getting close to those levels in October, I was like, yeah, this is very good. But now that we're even down to these levels almost around like the September timeframe, you'd love to see it. Now, the question is, do we continue to sell off? Do we continue to chop? Do we continue to go even lower and get us into that extreme fear level? It could 100% happen. I'm going to talk about that as well, and I'm going to address it. But outside of that, the biggest thing that has been really kind of pushing us down, holding down the market, and really kind of being that storm cloud over everything has been Mt. Gox and also Germany selling off Bitcoin, which we will talk about both of them. I want to start off with Mt. Gox because on the 5th, what we saw from CNBC was, of course, a bearish headline article from a mainstream media company. Over $170 billion wiped off cryptocurrencies and market tanks on Mt. Gox Bitcoin payout fears. But then we also got Bloomberg saying Bitcoin drops anew on fears of sales for Mt. Gox distributions. Now, they were saying that they started sending tokens to creditors. But the problem is that, yeah, it started to get sent to creditors. And what this has been really kind of skewed into everyone thinking is, all right, well, it already started the repayments. Now everyone's getting their Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash, so they're going to be able to sell it immediately. This is wrong. We actually know over here that Mt. Gox creditors may have to wait up to 3 months to receive their Bitcoin. So this is going to delay that even longer. Again, remember that Mt. Gox repayments were supposed to start back in March of 2023. Now that they're starting to possibly be sent out, everyone is so bearish. But on top of this, because again, to me personally, a lot of this is manipulation. We're starting to see the mainstream headlines coming out. We're starting to see everyone getting peak bearish, even though the repayments didn't even really officially begin. Creditors are starting to receive them, but they are going to be delayed, most likely. Now, outside of this, over here, July 5th, same day, German MP urges government to stop hasty Bitcoin sell-off. And the quoted post here was, instead of holding Bitcoin as a strategic reserve currency, as is already being debated in the USA, our government is selling on a large scale. I informed, again, all of these individuals why this is not only not sensible, but counterproductive, and invited them to our lecture event with Samson Mao, Bitcoin Strategies for Nation States on October 17th. So again, they're pushing this event in October around inviting these individuals there to really kind of lecture them on this. But what ended up happening was the government around Germany sold well over 7,583 Bitcoin. It was worth 434.9 million at the current prices. And this was since June 19th. So it was a substantial amount of sell pressure, obviously not a massive amount, but a substantial amount. And then also the latest sell-off saw 172 million worth of transfers to cryptocurrency exchanges Coinbase, Kraken, and Bitstamp on July 4th. So they still hold 42,274 Bitcoin worth about 2.4 billion. Now, an MP was urging them to stop selling, and they pushed it and pushed it and pushed it. And, well, guess what happened? Well, Germany stopped selling. And in fact, they bought back over $111 million worth of Bitcoin. If this doesn't tell you what's actually going on behind the scenes, I don't know what will. They come out and they start selling and selling and selling. The mainstream media headlines, everyone starts getting bearish and bearish, pushing the price down and down. And guess what? They come back and they buy up. They buy more for less. Do you understand what happens in this market? Do you understand how manipulation works in this market? Well, now you are seeing it. And I also want to go back to 2020, right? Because this is CNBC back in 2020. March 13th, Bitcoin loses half of its value in 2-day plunge. Over here, over 26 billion wiped off cryptocurrency market in 24 hours after massive oil price plunge. March 8th. Down 26%, Bitcoin sees worst sell-off in 7 years as coronavirus spurs flight to safety. Over here, Bitcoin's crash triggers over 700 million in liquidations on BitMEX. Mt. Gox trustee may sell some crypto assets, says draft repayment plan. This was back in March of 2020, March 25th. You seriously can't make this stuff up. Now, outside of this, right? This is what we see at the bottom, or close to it. I put out a few posts over on X, which I will talk about. But first, I want to just show you guys real quick Bitcoin. The number one thing that's important to me when it comes to Bitcoin is regaining the range. Right now, we lost it. On this weekly candle, we lost the range. If we go back in time to the lows of November of 2022, FTX, we had a range form down here. It was kind of the opposite of what we were seeing up here, right? We have this nice little area in here where we have support, and we also have resistance. Now, I know it looks a little rough here because I'm zoomed all the way out, but this is what this actually looks like in terms of a full-on range, where you have resistance candle body closes, support body closes, we're holding it, we're maintaining it, and then boom, we spike to the upside. Then we form another range, and then we have a very massive range here that happened from roughly March 13th all the way through to October, right? Just a chop fest of, trailing down, nice little move to the upside, trailing down. And then the next big move to the upside was us breaking over this, forming yet again another range. This is during the, ETF discussions around Bitcoin and then we pushed higher. Now, the problem is that we didn't really have a solid range up here. In fact, what was ended up happening was creating lower lows and lower highs. We want to form a range as fast as possible on Bitcoin, well above 50K. If that's not the case, and if we do lose this trend line that we have been holding for a little bit of time now, since going all the way back to March 4th, as you guys do see here, even on the April low, we held that. And then here we have the July low, we held it. Now, the thing here is, this is a downtrend, which is technically not bullish, right? The longer that we maintain just trailing down here, the more likely it is that we do retest down here at around $48K to $52,000, all right? And again, I share with you guys possibilities, not things that are guaranteed to happen, because nothing in this market is guaranteed to happen. The number one thing that I'm looking for is us to regain this area above the April lows, May lows, because again, we're on the weekly candles here, and ultimately chop within here before getting a run up to a major gap that needs to be filled, which I will talk to you guys about that gap here in a second. But ultimately, there's another gap down here on the bearish side of the market, which is around $48K to $52,000. Now, if that does not hold and we go down to even target the next major gap, that gap is down at $44,000 to $42K. If we are going to target that, it would absolutely decimate sentiment. It would be similar to March of 2020 almost. Now, am I expecting that to happen? I'm not, but it is a possibility. Like I said, I want to see us regain this range and then move to the upside. Overall, as we do look at Bitcoin, even on the lower time frames, on the daily, because this is the weekly, on the daily, you could see what ended up happening. We have this massive sell-off, right? Daily candle closes, 2 of them, right? We could not break over these support zones from May 1st and May 2nd, where we actually had a daily candle close over. In fact, we turned support into resistance, and then we rejected off of it. What we want to see here is possibly even a Wyckoff accumulation event happen, where this could very well be our spring here, and then we push higher. Again, this could take some time, but ultimately what we are really looking at here is maintaining above $52,000. We want to hold above 52K, and ultimately we want to hold above that low around 53.5K. But we could still be targeting 48 to 52K. And I even said this over on X, but this is my thought process. I said, seeing a lot of people saying that the top is in and that we already saw an alt season. I'm not sure if these are just newcomers that don't know that alt season doesn't happen when Bitcoin dominance is above 50%, or if the sentiment is really that bad. We have 2 potential major gaps that could be next to target, and they are the following. So the bearish one is 48 to 52K. All right. This would provide even more bearish fuel to feed the market sentiment, because right now everyone is fearful. They're panicky. They think that the top is in. This will basically be that confirmation. Like, oh, look we lost $50,000. It's confirmed that, the top is in. We're going into a bear market. And then there's also 63 to 65K. This would probably front run a lot of sideline cash trying to buy the exact bottom. It would also cause a ton of shorts to be liquidated, potentially pushing us even higher. Bottoms will never feel like bottoms. Remember that. When it feels like this is the end and it's never going to stop, we typically chop, find a range, and then push higher. Again, that's what we're expecting. We want to find a range. That's why I look over here and I'm like, all right, well, this would be the best range to find. But if we don't, then the next range that we will ultimately find is somewhere down here. We might even sell off into this range, chop, and then we get a push higher. That's still a possibility. And I see a lot of people saying, like, no way, we bottomed here. Again, it's possibilities. I'm not here to call the bottom. I'm not here to, speculate on where the bottom is. And I'm not going to be throwing capital at this market until we actually have a range form. I see so many people saying, like, you need to be buying. Guys, if we bought every single major red candle, we would be broke. What we do is we wait for the range to be found, wait for it to happen, build a floor, and then we can enter. Outside of that, you're entering with substantial risk if you're just throwing capital at these charts, especially when we don't know what's going to happen next. This could be our bottom, but 48 to 52K could also be the bottom. But outside of that, I also want to share with you guys Bitcoin dominance, because Bitcoin dominance is actually in a range right now. And what's funny is this is what this chart looks like. Now, if I inverse this, I just want to ask you guys, what does this look like? Would you be a buyer of this chart? Because if you think this thing is going to pump, so if you think it's just going to range here and then pump, well, that means that Bitcoin dominance is going to drop. And it does look ready to pump when you invert it. It doesn't look like it has much, downside potential here. We are waiting for a major sell-off. And even if we look at this wick here, look at this nasty wick that we got back in April to this major area back in August of 2020. And just so that you guys are, not confused here, this was a major area of support that we now are potentially flipping into resistance. So we are watching this chart closely. Now, outside of that, to really kind of give you guys an insight on altcoins and the sentiment, I said the altcoin comments in the last few weeks have been similar to this. Altcoins are down 50% to 90%. This isn't normal. Altcoins are dead. Altseason already happened. X, Y, and Z didn't even move. They are dead. Now take a look at this thread from this individual made back in June. This is the altcoin sentiment from 2020 and 2021 when Bitcoin was at 20K, almost matching the 2017-2018 all-time high, like we are matching the 2021 high. Now, I did include this in a video, I think it was back in June, and I said, like, this is the sentiment right now. And here we have the altcoin sentiment from 2020. Not comfortable at all seeing Bitcoin move and altcoins dead. That's why alts will move. Alts dead. Yeah, alts are dead till further notice. This was December of 2020, by the way. Altcoins, ETH looks dead, so alts never going to catch up Bitcoin run. Again, 2020. Over here, all altcoins are dead. Very good. And alts are dead. Are altcoins dead, sir? Ripple going, down. Coin artist litigation for, stupid stuff. Alts are dead for a bit. This was December of 2020, December 24th. And here we have 90% of CT celebrating Bitcoin going to all-time highs, but are overexposed in altcoins. Over here, people are just selling their altcoins to buy Christmas presents. Finally, altcoin capitulation. Look at these altcoin Bitcoin pairs. Guys, they're dead. This is what 2020 looked like. This was November of 2020, by the way. Beyond that, top signals. Here's December of 2020. Damn, I just dropped an egg on the floor and it made me burn my toast. And the burnt toast kind of had Bitcoin 19,950 written on it. I wonder if this is a top signal. This is what you people sound like. Try not to trade off the top signal memes, but just catching up on my feed, there's an awful lot. And also over here, another top signal, up only. Here we have most of the major top signals of 2018 were either before stuff went up 10x or after stuff went down 60% before a 50% bounce. They sound good in the long term, but when you start zooming in to the short term, you realize they're mostly noise. Also over here, this is crazy indeed. So many top signals already. Again, everyone was talking about top signals around December of 2020. What if alts never pump? Alts will never pump again in this new institutional paradigm. And now we hear all of these talks about ETF discussions as well. Starting to believe that my huge bag of algo will never pump. Here we have sentiment under tweets now. This doesn't mean we suddenly pump, by the way. And no, right? We're not going to pump immediately. These things take time. But everyone is talking about how altcoins are dead. They're bearish. If you think this was only the case in 2020, here's altcoin sentiment in 2017 when Bitcoin was sitting at all-time highs as well. Like every single time, every season is the same exact season. Guys, altcoin sentiment right now is absolutely dead. Nobody cares about altcoins. Altseason is not happening in their mind. Altseason's dead. It's never happening because of ETFs and this and that. Guys, Bitcoin dominance looks ready to take the leap of faith at any moment. Now, this could happen next week. It could happen next month. It does not matter, right? The number one thing to focus on here is Bitcoin finding a range, Bitcoin having some type of floor forming, because until that happens, there's no reason why I would be throwing capital at this market, or at least until Bitcoin dominance does start to really kind of take a leap down while Bitcoin ranges here and then has a move to the upside. But outside of that, as we look at this entire move on Bitcoin, while we're hearing the top signals, while we're hearing about altcoins being dead, guys, Bitcoin is down 27.25%. Here's the ETF announcement, the run up. Here's a move down 21.22%. Here's a move back in the middle of the season. Again, this is like 22.74%. All of these moves here are 20% moves. Even FTX technically to mark the bottom was 28.86%. So as we really look at what's happening here, guys, this move is healthy. It's normal. It happens. Go back to 2020 into 2021. Here we have January, right before Altseason officially begins. Bitcoin was down 31%. 31%, almost 32%. Again, this is why I say I don't understand what's going on in this market right now. Is sentiment just that bad, or are people just new to the space? In my opinion, I just think that sentiment is that bad because everyone was expecting this market to go up only. Ultimately speaking, I was expecting us to maintain this low from April and May, but we lost it. and things like that happen. We can't call everything 100% perfectly. We're not going to call everything 100% perfectly, and including myself, I'm going to be wrong. And I was wrong on the timeline. I was also wrong on Bitcoin bottoming above the May low. And ultimately speaking, we should have never have lost $60,000 if we were going to play into the Fed liquidity injection. But one thing that I will say is that Fed liquidity injection is still very bullish, especially at the time where liquidity right now in this market is dead, as you guys do see. So that's going to boost liquidity, which will ultimately push us higher if we are going to go, well above the recent highs from roughly March, and then also go into, price discovery around 8,200K. If that is the case, the Fed liquidity injection will push us significantly higher. Liquidity is crucial, but also outside of that, there's a few other things to look at, right? The ETH ETF discussions, that's a big rumor still, but it's a possibility that happens this week. We have to be very patient. We have to watch, wait, and see. But with that being said, short term, we are a little bit bearish, but I'm still very bullish on Altseason and the bull run continuing after we get past this major leg down in the market. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, definitely leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on because more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord down in the description below. And with that being said, guys, it's been Nick. Thanks for watching. Peace out.